Thanks indeed, Brenda, and very welcome. And thank you for listening to me, because listening is a rare gift nowadays. I was just thinking when Brenda was talking there that you've come in big numbers, and you've come in along, accompanied by some ghosts. And those ghosts are in fact the teachers of your past. And I'm just doing a small piece of research at the moment, interrogating current DIP students about their experiences in school, and not all of them are positive. Very many are negative. So, but that doesn't make any difference. Some students come in because they want to do things differently, because they believe that education is different from what they received. Others come in because they so admire a teacher that they had in the past, that they want to be like that teacher, to emulate what that teacher did and the effect that that teacher had on them. So you might think yourself, why am I studying such and such a subject in UCC or wherever? And perhaps the reason for that goes back to some influence that you had in secondary school, to a teacher that you had, who inspired you in a particular area. And that's the kind of inspirational teacher that many of you, I know, are coming to become. So I'm going to give you here in 10 minutes, and it's great having 10 minutes, especially when the clock doesn't move. So I'm just going to give you a few facts about the program here in UCC. I'm going to mingle that with a few aspirations as well. In the Teaching Council's annual report, they broke down the number of registered teachers, and it's quite an interesting breakdown. You see that male secondary teachers, including primary, and are numbered around 15,700, and female teachers 54,700. So it's interesting that there is a gender divide in the profession at the moment, and what the implications of that are, I suppose, for the future we'll see. So some useful information about our program here. We're talking about second level teaching. I know most of you know this already, but we sometimes do get students who are saying, what about primary teaching? Well, we just do second level teaching. And for all NUI colleges, that's Galway, Dublin, Maynooth, and ourselves, you need to apply by the 1st of December. And you can do so by going on the PAC website, and the website is given there as www.pac.ie, and there you'll get a channel into whichever college you would like to go to in the NUI family, and it will tell you something about the subject areas that are recognized. It will tell you about the points that you might need to get in, and how those points are accumulated or understood, and you'll be able to navigate your way through those statistics quite easily once you go into that site. But the dates are very important. I think the dates were put on up earlier. Brenda put them up on the slide for you. Once you're granted a place, we'll say you find a place, you go through PAC, you secure a place, and you want to come to Cork. Our structure is a continuous structure, which means that you're teaching from September to June. It's not a block release system. So you teach in the afternoon. No, you don't. You come here in the afternoon. You teach in the morning in school, and you come here for lectures in the afternoon right through the year. And the reason we do this is that we believe in a blend of theory and practice, and an ongoing contact with particular school groups and so on. It's another model, if you like, of teaching practice. So if you do receive a place, then you need to find a school, And the normal process is by lifting the phone, by seeking out, once you get the place, which will be the 1st of April or so, or shortly after the 1st of April, you try and find a school. The school will invite you in and will interview you to see how suitable you are. So the school is your first interview place. And when you're discussing and talking with the principal, you will make sure that they're able to accommodate your subject area, and they're able to accommodate the level that you want to teach at. And the principal will go over the main things to do with the school. It could be the deputy principal that you're meeting. A contract is either signed or a verbal contract is entered into then with you, and you secure your place in that school by means of that contract. And that contract will enable you to come into college here in the afternoon to be here for lectures at 2 o'clock every day. So the timeline then is in late August, you have a 2-day orientation seminar, and you're assigned a tutor. The tutors are really decided on the basis of your teaching subject. So we have 2 teaching subjects, but some of you may not have 2 teaching subjects, but you have 1 at least. So you need to have 1, and it's on the basis of that first or primary teaching subject that we assign the tutor to you. Then most students have a second subject, but there's about 1/3 of you don't, in which case you may do CSPE, you may do another subject for which you will receive methodology support and so on. So our lectures begin in mid-September, but I believe this changes from year to year, and I think it's moving a bit earlier next year as some kind of semesterization occurs here in UCC. And then teaching supervision begins, observation where possible. The program design, it's really in 3 bits. If you like, you've got teaching practice, which is your 20 credits. You've got professional studies, which includes general methods and teaching subject pedagogies, that's 20 credits. And you've got foundational studies, which includes special needs, special educational needs, some multiculturalism, philosophy, psychology, and the type of areas that the other speakers mentioned also. So the question is, what qualities do you bring to teaching? And very often we forget that we have to bring certain qualities. And John Dewey, as a philosopher of education, suggested these 4 prerequisites for being a good teacher. So you might just check these out in your own psyche and your own thinking. The first is a kind of open-mindedness. You know, you have to be flexible in mind, because you're going to come across kids who think quite differently from you, kids who are brighter than you, kids who are not as bright as you, kids who come from a different culture, different religion, a different set of beliefs, and you have to be flexible and open-minded. So you can't just replicate what you have already, you need to be a bit open. The second condition, or the second quality in a good teacher, according to Dewey, is wholeheartedness. And this refers to what Ger was saying a minute ago, you know, about teachers giving above and beyond the call of duty kind of thing. Being totally dedicated to the wholeness and the wholesomeness of the child. So that, you know, you may be in there as a French teacher or as a teacher of science, but what you notice in front of you is a living human being who has certain needs, emotional, psychological, and you may be the first person to notice certain issues with that person, with that child. And many teachers respond to that in ways that go beyond just simply teaching French or science. And then there's responsibility, which is being able to respond to new learning, you know, being able to respond to maybe learning needs that people have. And here we come to the issue of communication. Every year coming into our program, we have a very small percentage of students, I'd say about 1%, maybe 1 to 2%, who can't communicate. But that's such a small number. It's almost insignificant. But by communication, I mean actually eye contact. If you can't make eye contact with someone, don't go in for teaching. If you can't move your face about, if you can't listen to criticism, again, that's a kind of communication. I'm sure you all have stories from your own personal lives about people who don't communicate properly and so on and so forth. But we're talking about something very fundamental here that actually is something fundamental to the way teaching goes. That you're communicating all the time, your antennae are up, you're taking in signals, you know whether someone is with you or not with you, and so forth. And then lastly, this directness, being able to confront a problem as it arises. So we hope in our program that we will enable you to do a number of these things here, to plan effective learning, to enrich your knowledge of curriculum, to develop pedagogical strategies, to apply these to differentiated environments. A differentiated environment means an environment where people are different in learning speed, different in disposition, in talent, so on. And then that you're able to manage people's behavior, you know, and you're even able to do X's and O's, which is interesting. That you become more reflective concerning your capacities, skills and abilities, that you become more realistic about who you are, what you can achieve, and that you can establish values and attitudes worthy of a teaching professional. So I go through these very quickly. We have a course on teaching studies, we've one multiculturalism and special educational needs, we have curriculum assessment, we have the teaching of a subject area, and I mentioned about 2 subjects from the list. We have teaching practice, where we have 5 visits over the year, 2 tutor supervisors, backed by certain cognate group meetings, which are meetings of tutors, and we have visits from externs. We have external examiners, 4 of them, 2 from the UK, 2 from here, and they come just to make sure that we are operating fairly, and we have a moderation process of teaching practice. And we have philosophy and history of education, of course, the foundational disciplines, which are perhaps not immediately obvious to people, because when students like yourselves come in, you're immediately looking for ways of teaching, ways of communicating, and so forth, but you're not thinking of society issues, equality in society, the role of education in actually reinforcing inequalities in society, and so forth. And we need to think about those, because you're going to have teaching practice in areas that you have never come across before, and encounter social strata that you probably haven't come across before. So you get a chance to do a reflective and professional practice portfolio, where you are being asked the question, what kind of a teacher are you? And fundamentally, when you look down here, oh dear, wow, look at this. These actually were a group of DIP students who came in last year. And the tutor called over to me and said, there's something peculiar about this crowd of DIP students, and being very politically correct and so on. I said, well, what is the problem? So they had been given a particular test, and they were all looking around at it, jumping up and down like mad things and swinging off the rafters. So when I heard that, I said, oh, that's a normal transition year class. So, I mean, no, I said, there's something else. But, so what this suggests is that there are fundamental developmental issues going on with each of you. And they will come out when you start trying to communicate to a bunch of kids. Kids see through you like that. If you have a particular habit of picking your nose or saying every 2 minutes, you know right well you're going to get a nickname after 40 minutes. So you have to get used to that kind of thing. You have to start knowing yourself a bit more as a result. It's a fantastic training. Even if you never get a job later on, or even if you go into industry, you learn so much about yourself. You're able to communicate, you're able to deliver small seminars, even if you go into industry. It gives you fantastic personal resources. So I'd like to wish you all the best in your choice of career, and I'd like to welcome you into the teaching profession, those of you who wish. And I can see that teaching needs new thinking and new fresh energies, such as I'm looking at here. Thank you.